From his studios in New York, it's time for Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Here's your host, Dan Tortora.
Welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora on wakeupcalldt.com, your one-stop sports shop, and on mixlr.com/wakeupcalldt. Always proud to be here with you every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time. And obviously on this show we've had over 1,000 guests here on the broadcast gracing the stage to tell their stories. And it's always great to bring in a new voice. It's always good to add, and it's amazing when people say there's no good people out there. There's so many, and so many of them have, I feel so blessed that they've been on the show, and they've been here with us. And one of the voices that you haven't heard on the show before, which it's kind of ironic, you haven't heard this voice on the show, yet I've known this person for a while now, and I got to sit in my MU courtside sideline seat and talk about the games and the great work that her and her team were doing back at Marywood, and now we get to have her on the show. So for me, it's a reunion. For you, it's the first time. Katie Hajmahalis is here with us today, an alum of Marywood women's basketball and the current Kings College women's basketball head coach. And to me, it's an honor and a privilege to have her on here because of everything we're going to talk about today and because of the fact that we get to reunite on the air when that's how I started off and got to meet her and so many of the great players that came through Marywood. So without further ado, Katie Hajmahalis, and that name, when you can successfully say it, it makes you feel like a champion. So Katie, how are we doing today?
Doing well, Dan. Absolutely. Definitely feel like a champion. And like I said, when you first called, it was you can tell that you know me because you can say Hajmahalis perfectly.
Yeah, and that's the I mean, how many... What have you heard? I mean, I can only imagine, but what's the typical?
Hadza Michaelis, I get a lot. It's nice because that's when I know telemarketers are calling me. Because if they can't say it, it's like, all right, if you can say it, then I'll think about buying whatever you're trying to pitch. But a lot of Hadza Michaelis. The weirdest one was like a Hadza Matrali, because there are no T's. It ends in an S. So yeah, those are some of the weird ones I've gotten.
Yeah, my mom got Deborah Fontuna. There's no F's. There's no N's. There's no U's. I mean, it's, or people, like, I literally, like, when a telemarketer calls, I'm like, say it, just say it. Tortora. I was like, it's like We Will Rock You. It's Tortora. It's not hard. It's the same three letters twice and then an A. But,
yeah.
You know, you can't, I mean, and after 16 years of saying it on the air, you'd think, okay, people know, but the reality of it all is, like, you're right. If somebody calls you, and I'll go one step beyond telemarketers, you know, let's say I dated somebody for a year. If she can't say the last name, I guess we broke up that day. I mean,
right.
That's just how it is, you know. That's how you get in the door. You got to be able to say the name right. So.
Oh, absolutely.
So, Katie, you know, to let's go back to Marywood. Let's go back to, you know, when you and I first met, when I was on the sidelines, you were on the court. What are kind of the fondest memories for you of Marywood and your playing days in college?
I think the easiest one is just the relationships you make when you're playing between, like, teammates and getting to meet people like you or getting to know your coaches. I still have a bunch of friends that we were playing together at this point 15 years ago, and we're still friends now. And I think on the court, when I first started, we weren't great in all three sports that I played, and then by the time we got to my senior year, all of them had made playoffs, and we kind of turned things around. So just being able to be a part of that and kind of contribute on that was always a blast. And being a part of opening up the new gym, like being able to be one of the first teams that plays in there and all that good stuff. Just a lot of good memories with a lot of my teammates for sure.
And I want to go back to, and you brought it up, you know, the old gym is where I started MU courtside. And not only, and this is for people, you know, especially the generation that's growing up right now that thinks that it's just easy and it just happens. You like, oh, it's, you know, I'm just going to sit on my couch and then, like, God's going to give me money and then things are going to work out. No, that's not how it works. So when I was broadcasting in the old gym, I mean, in the new gym, same thing, but in the old gym, I literally, because of the wiring, I had to, with my suit on, go under the bleachers, kneel in the dust, put everything on, turn it all. I mean, there were days where the camera people didn't show up. So I'm setting up the cameras, turning on the cameras, plugging in the cameras, setting up us, making sure that works, going into the studio, checking with them. The audio's not working, going back to that. Like, people don't get it. Directing, producing, audio, you're doing all this stuff. And so the old gym kind of like, but to me, it's like I wouldn't change it for the world. When you got to go from the old gym to the new gym, just what you could say about that. Because like you said, there's only one team that gets to make that historical jump, and you got to do that.
Yeah, I mean, the old gym was not bad. Like, it was good size, but like you said, it was definitely an experience going from that gym into the new gym. And the new gym was, like, I just remember it being built and walking through, being like, oh, wow, this is, like, a big gym. Like, this is a legit gym. Like, this is college basketball. And then you finally get to start playing in there, and you get to see and go to other schools' gyms, and you realize, oh, wow, like, we actually do have it really nice, and they're starting to take care of all the athletic side of things. Because like I said, when I first got there, like, athletics were good and certain sports were really good, but as a whole, it wasn't great. So being able to see them, like, invest that time and invest that energy and invest that money into the programs was just something I was always appreciative, and I know my teammates were. But being able to just play in that gym and be some of the first ones, I feel like there was, I don't remember if I was, like, one of the first ones to score a basket in the new gym, but I know I was the last one to score a basket in the old gym, I'm pretty sure. So that was just a cool little, like, personal, like, oh, well, no one else gets to do that. I can kind of jump in there and do that.
So to be the last one to score the basket in the old gym, just for you, I mean, that's got to be something tremendous, because obviously, that was the end of it. That was the end of an era. So anybody that was to go in there after that, I mean, that last Haj Mahala shot, I mean, that was you. I mean, that's got to be a great feeling to be able to kind of walk in there and step in that gym and say, I got to shut the gym down, so to speak.
Yeah, it was cool. It was always, anytime you can do anything like that, I think it's just more of the personal of remembering where you're at, where you came from, how you started it, because that was the end of my freshman year. And obviously anybody who's played any sports, like, your freshman year, everything's a whirlwind, and you're just trying to keep up and not disappoint your teammates or your coaches, and just try to grind out through everything. So to be able to go in and do that, play hard, and have, like, a decent year, it's anytime you can tag something little like that onto it extra, it makes it special.
And for you, speaking here with Katie Hajmahalis, the head coach of Kings College women's basketball and former Marywood women's basketball athlete and three-sport athlete. I want to go into that a little bit deeper, because I knew you from basketball, but what can you say about, playing so many different sports and kind of what you took away from that? Because, I mean, you're helping student athletes every single day to kind of juggle with playing basketball and going to school. You played basketball, went to school, and then still had other sports on the docket. Just what you can say about kind of your experience.
I mean, the biggest takeaway is I think I was a little bit crazy, because, like, from here on out, like, my lower half always joke, like, it's at least 20 years older than the other parts of my body, just from all the running and banging that I did. But yeah, I think the one thing that I've taken into my coaching and, like, recruiting now at Kings is I did play 3 sports. So when people are saying, oh, there's not time, I can't do that, it's no, you don't want to make the time, because it's doable. I did it. I played 3 sports. I got very good grades. I could do all of that. It's a choice that you've got to make. So being able to kind of relay that to my athletes and then prospective athletes when they come in, I think that's the biggest thing I gained from it, because you have to make that choice literally every single day. Everyone might be going out to go grab pizza or go hang out, and it's like, no, this is the one window I have to do my work. I'm going to do my work at this point. So I think it's definitely something that I'm a little bit crazy for, but I wouldn't have changed a single second of it, because I don't know how many people can say that they've played 3 sports in college, or say that they wanted to play 3 sports in college.
Yeah, and that's, like you said, you make the time. And I brought that up on the show before, because I've been around people that, whenever I hear somebody make the excuse, oh, I don't have time. Like, oh, I have kids, I don't have time. Oh, I have multiple jobs, I don't have time. Oh, I play a sport, I don't have time. When I hear that, I always hear you make time. I mean, I own my own business. I wear 15 different hats. I don't have kids, but I got the dog and I got the business, and I'm running around and doing all this crazy stuff that I put myself, like you said, you got to be a little bit crazy to play 3 sports and go to school and do all that. But, what can you say to that when somebody says, I just don't have the time? I always find that to be a cop-out, and I always find like the person, no matter who it is throughout the history, whether it's a kid or an adult or whatever, I always find that those are the people that don't really push themselves to take the next step, so to speak.
Oh, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think when I hear that, it's okay, well, then that just means you're prioritizing something else. And is that something else that important to you where you don't want to make the time for it? Then great, figure out what you want to do, go do it. But don't, like you said, I think it's a big cop-out. And I don't like when that's the excuse, or the same thing when I hear from a lot of athletes of like, oh, I just need to focus on my studies more, so sports are taking away from that. And it's no, you're not utilizing your time properly. Sports help you with your time management because you have certain windows to get things done. You just don't want to get things done in that window. So I absolutely agree that that's a big cop-out, and I don't buy it because, like you said, I think anybody who has initiative and anybody who wants to go after something, they're going to find a way to do that.
Yeah, and that's the thing is it's kind of like in like-minded people kind of go toward each other, so to speak, and you kind of weed out the bad. Like, you're a go-getter. So I can imagine that in the world of Katie Hajmahalis, when you're, when you have that moment to go, get a drink, get something to eat, take a walk or something like that, you want to be surrounded by people that push you, by people that, command the best out of you. To me, being around people that are kind of like, or they're stagnant, they don't really move. I feel like somebody like yourself has to have that, the non-excuse people, so to speak, that are not going to be your yes men and not going to tell you what you want to hear, but they're going to uplift you and they're going to kind of push you to be your best self, or else what are you doing?
Absolutely. And I think the biggest drain on me from people around is just complaining. Like, I don't understand complaining. It's okay, if you're complaining, you're just presenting a solution or presenting a problem and not coming up with a solution. So I get everybody needs to vent and kind of let things go off of their chest, which there's absolutely a place for. But then if you just leave it at that, or you're just complaining just to complain, then what are you doing? Go after and find some way to get around it. I 100% agree. I'm not a big excuses guy. I don't want to be around it. I don't want to hear it.
And then that's the thing. Speaking here with Katie Hajmahalis and talking about basketball, sports in general, but also about life. As you know, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is where sports proudly meets life every Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time and outside of that. So, Katie, for you to kind of tell the story about how you got back in, or how you kind of just shifted right into coaching. We've gone to a bunch of different places in this conversation. We'll continue to, but for you went from playing 3 sports, you were going to school, you graduate from Marywood, and then it's, okay, what am I going to do now? Bring me into that, because you told me kind of off the air how things kind of happen, and, obviously, you got into the good graces, so to speak. Something kind of, fell your way in a good way, and you made the right connections. It's important to not burn bridges and to establish meaningful connections. In your life, you had an opportunity because of, the person that you are and kind of the reputation that you set and the connection you made. So to share that story with everybody this morning.
Sure. So again, being a 3-sport athlete, I did the same thing in high school, and I spent a lot of times in the athletic training room. And my high school athletic trainer was Andrew Donahue, but her maiden name was Campbell, so we always called her Soup. And she got to be a really just close relationship of mine, and just somebody I trusted and spent a lot of time with. And we stayed in touch throughout my college years. And once I graduated from Marywood, she gave me a call just to congratulate me on graduating and some awards and stuff that I got. And she asked me what I was looking to do. And my undergrad was in health and physical education, because I always knew I wanted to be around, just being active. Sitting behind a desk just wasn't for me in a corporate setup. So I wanted to be on a team. I wanted to still be involved in athletics somehow. And she asked, and I said, hey, I'm looking for teaching jobs, but I'd rather try to get into coaching. I saw some internship positions that I think I'm going to apply for. And her husband, Brian Donahue, was actually a college women's basketball coach. And so she, I guess, was in the car with him as she was talking to me. And she's like, oh, really? All right, hold on a second. And handed the phone over to Brian. And Brian was like, oh, so you want to get into coaching? I said, yeah, I really think I do. And he said, well, we got an open spot. It's yours if you want it. Just come down to campus, and I'll show you around, and we'll go from there. And that was literally in the summer right after I graduated. So I graduated in May, and I think in June I was on campus with him, touring around, and we signed the paperwork, made it official, and it was a quote-unquote one-year position. And then I used to always joke either I was doing something really right or really wrong, because I was the assistant there for 7 years here at Kings. And then Brian took a promotion and he left, and I was lucky enough to get hired as head coach. So I just wrapped up year 10 at Kings, and I'm going to be going into my 11th year. And I still talk to Andrea and Brian. I was on the phone with Brian yesterday, and he did a lot for me, and so did Soup, just getting me started and getting me to see, okay, what is this job and how do we do it right? We saw a lot of success together. I mean, we went to the NCAA Sweet 16 in my third year, and we were better my fourth year. And now to kind of be in charge and sitting in the number one chair, it's crazy to see how, like you said, treating people right and building relationships back when I was a junior and senior in high school has led me to where I'm at today. It's kind of crazy to reflect on as we're talking about it.
Yeah, speaking here with Katie Hajmahalis and looking at this, like you said, 7 years as an assistant coach. So you're at Marywood, you're playing, you graduate, you have, all this stuff to be proud of and appreciate. You did it. You were able to play 3 sports. You were able to go to school, live your life. Then you become an assistant, like you said, over at Kings for 7 years, and then you get the head coaching job on July 18th of 2016. And so to be a young woman, a young person in this profession, just what that means to you to be able to say that you went from school right into coaching and then, bided your time. You got to work in recruiting and film editing, game planning, scouting, kind of all the pieces of it. And then you get the head coaching job, almost 3 years ago as we're heading toward July. Just what that does for you in your life and then, in general, because as you and I know, when you're a young person going after your dreams, people say, pay your dues, pay your dues, pay your dues. You got to do this. You're not going to get this till you're 40. You're not going to get this till you're 50. You seem like the type of person, if somebody says you're not going to get it till you're 40, you'll get it at 21. And my reaction, I talked to a guy at ESPN Club down in Florida, and he said, you're not supposed to get your own show till you're like 30, 31. I was 22. And I said, well, that's all well and good, but I don't care. So I want to go into that a little bit, more with you, that, to be somebody who is young, doing what you love, that's got to be something special, and it's got to carry some weight because, we're not supposed to be, so to speak.
Yeah, definitely. And that's where I think when I started out, and I think this is how it goes with a lot of people, is you start out and you're just like, I'm going to do everything I can to get after what I want to, and whatever's going to come out of it. Like, I wasn't thinking like, oh, I want to be a head coach. It was, I want to do this job as good as I can, as best as I can. And then everything else just kind of fell into its place around it. Now, like you said, I don't want to do anything else other than it because I do love it so much. But I think the one thing that always stood out is when I was going through college, and I didn't realize that coaching was something that I could do. I didn't think, I hadn't had a lot of female coaches and full-time coaches and been around it, and so I never thought that was a possibility until it was right there in front of me. But you're going back and looking at the grinding through it and trying to get where you want to go and not putting a timestamp on stuff and being like, no, I'm going to get after it. There's so many other things that kind of go into it and build that journey of, it wasn't just, like you said, I had to grind for it. I had to work for it. I worked, I think, 5 jobs at one point when I was an assistant because it was part-time and housing wasn't included or anything like that. So I worked third shift at a Planet Fitness cleaning bathrooms. I coached high school field hockey. I did camps. I did private lessons. I would pick up random game stuff on campus here at Kings just to run the clock or run whatever, just to find a way to do what I wanted to do, because everyone else is like, oh, you're crazy, you're not making any money, why aren't you leaving? There's a reason I'm not leaving. I want to go after this, and the right opportunity hasn't popped up yet because I wasn't really looking. I just figured it would, if I did things right, that it would get there. And I'm not shocked, but I'm shocked at the same time at how quickly that happened. But I think that happens for people who work hard and go after it. So
yeah, it's funny how people say, oh, you got lucky, and it's like, well, if luck includes working hard and, like you said, working all these jobs, doing all this stuff in the background, having people think that you're nuts while you're doing, it's, luck. I guess the quote I would put behind it in the, just kind of make one in the moment is, luck happens when you work really, really hard in the dark.
Absolutely.
That's kind of where luck comes from. But To go a little bit more into that for you, like you said, you wanted to do what you loved, so you were working third shift and you're doing this and you're picking up this and you're doing that. Like, you did all this other stuff where people see, oh my God, look, you're a head coach. That's so great. That's so awesome for you. You had to do all this other stuff and find your way to make it work and kind of put it all together so that you could focus on that one thing. You were doing all these other things. Just what you can say about that, like having that drive and that determination, because the unpretty stuff is the stuff you just mentioned, the stuff that people don't see and they don't know about. Like, you're cleaning the bathrooms and you're picking up this game and you're doing this and you're doing that. That's not what you wanted to do, but it was helping you to get to where you wanted to go.
Yeah, and it's not what I wanted to do. It was what I needed to do. It was what I had to do. And to be able to go, like, third shift, I think I would start at 9:45 at night, and then I'd go till 6 in the morning, and then my point guard would want to work out, so I would just come right to the gym, and I would sleep in the locker room, and she knew to wake me up whenever we had our workout at 8 or 9 or whatever it was, and we would go work out. Then I'd go home, I'd sleep for 2 more hours, and then I'd come right back into the office to do whatever I needed to at like 10. And then I would leave, when it was in the fall, overlapping with my high school field hockey coaching job, I would leave at 2 o'clock from the office, and I'd go right to practice there, and then I would leave, go sleep on a couch somewhere, and go right back to working at night. So it's one of those things of, when you take a second, now that I have one job, it's like, oh, wow, like, I was kind of doing a lot. You don't realize it in the moment, because it's just, all right, this is what I need to do to get where I want to go. And you don't realize how much you're doing until you take the second of, oh, wow, I now have this one job. I can sit here and devote my time to that and just that. And now there's like this weird thing called somewhat of a free time window. And it's like, I don't know what to do with it.
But that's the beauty of it. And I'm sure when you had 100 things going on, to kind of go back to what we were talking about before, if something else came up that you wanted to do or you wanted to work into your schedule, you did it. You figured it out. You know, it's like you found a way. Because I find that with friends is like, how do you have time to do this and do this and do this and then still hang out? And it's like, well, because I care about you, bud. You know, you have to, you got to have that time. I know, like you said, what do I do with my downtime? But you kind of create the moments that you want to create. And I think, you know, that's the importance of it all, is as much as you're doing and kind of the road that you've been on, I'm sure that you have people in your life, like you said, you just talked to Coach yesterday, you know, that you take that time and you don't even think about it. You don't even view it as free time, but you take that time to kind of be around the people that lift you up and help you to feel good about, you know, what you're doing and life in general, because we all got to have that. Life is crazy. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's what I try to tell our team in the first meeting of every season, every new school year, is you show up for the things that matter. And that's the best way to show your teammates that you care about them, is that they get knocked down on the ground, you show up and you pick them up. But it's the same thing of, they have something that's important to them. Like, we had a player last year who was going to be our first player to ever go to Notre Dame, because we have a 3-2 program here where you do engineering. And she was one of the only females in her class, and she was going to be the first one of the women's basketball team who was going to be going to Notre Dame. And she had her final presentation over on campus, and I went over to go watch. She's like, well, why are you coming over here? And she already had other teammates over there. Like, that's, you show up for the people that you care about, whether you're tired or not. You just show up.
I have to go back to what you said, speaking here with Katie Hajmahalis. You said that you slept. You would work third shift. You would sleep in the locker room and then have one of your players wake you up when they wanted to work out. When you go back and you look at those moments, I mean, has this always been you? Has this always been Katie Hajmahalis? Has this always been your nature? Or, I mean, is this something that just kind of built in you over time? Because when people hear that, I feel like the majority of people are like, what do you mean you didn't go home? What do you mean you didn't sleep in a bed? Like, you slept in and everybody knows locker rooms have hard benches and nothing else. So, I mean, was that always you, or did that become you as you went on? Just what's the story behind the fact that you could sleep in a locker room like you cared that much?
Well, we're a little lucky. We had a little futon in our locker room. It was a crappy one from Walmart, but we had that in the locker room. So it wasn't quite a hard concrete floor or bench or something, but I think that's always been me, because I don't know any different. I mean, even in high school, I remember running around and then going to watch the underclassmen, like the freshmen and JV games, and I would just kind of either take a nap like on campus, like in one of our teachers' offices had a couch. Like I would take a nap there until it was game time. I think it's something that I don't know any different, and I think it's crazy. Like you said, people are going to listen and be like, "Wow, she's a whack job. Like what is she doing?" But I think my problem is learning how to turn that off and be like, "Nope, it's time to go home now." I think I'm at that point where I've got to kind of flip it because I just want to keep going. I want to keep doing things. I want to keep being able to do everything that I feel like I should be doing. And I think it's now at the point where I need to turn that down a little bit now.
Do you know what it's like to sleep or watch a TV show? Because I'm learning. but I mean, I got rid of cable, number one, because it gouges you and it's ridiculous. There's really no point in having cable. And I don't want to disrespect any of the cable companies out there, but the one in Central New York is a whore for money, I guess I should say. So I mean, I just kind of dedicated to like Netflix and HBO and the apps and whatnot, and I got my sports stuff. I can watch my ESPN stuff. So I mean, I just kind of that's what. But I said it. I was like, I literally watch television at midnight when I'm in bed, and I'm usually watching a movie like Wedding Crashers that I've seen a bunch of times that makes me laugh because I like to watch comedy before I go to bed, and then I go to sleep. But it's like, what's the point? So I don't know that world. I'm sure that you don't either. Nope. So what is the sleep life and what is the TV life? Because when I tell people, like I've literally had conversations within the last couple of weeks with people in their 30s, and I'm like, when do you go to bed? They're like, I'm in bed by 9.
I don't know anything about that.
I was like, I'm in bed by 2. Like, yeah, you know, it's like I get up at a little bit after 8. Let's say I'm trying to do better, but let's say like 8:30. I get up. You know, the show's at 9. It doesn't take much to do what I got to do in the morning to get going. But I get up at like 8. I do the last possible second, but I'm like 8:30 to 2 a.m. where I'm hearing, I get up at 6:30, but I go to bed at 9. I can't fathom going to bed at 9 o'clock because I feel like if I died today, I would have missed so much between 9 and whenever. So I feel like you get that world. Like you understand more of my world than the 9 or 10 before the news starts, you're in bed. That's just weird to me.
For sure. I'm same boat as you 100%. I think that's honestly why I started working third shift, because I was wide awake at 1 or 2 in the morning. And I was like, I could be making money now instead of laying here not sleeping. So I was like, I'll just go and see what I can do. But yeah, I haven't had cable for 6-7 years. I'm on the same thing. I've got the Netflix. I've got like a Fire Stick, and I've got like the ESPN apps and all that stuff that I kind of fire up. And I do watch, like when I go home, I'll go throw on something, like big Game of Thrones right now. I just caught up to all that kind of stuff. I'll watch whatever I'm going to watch, but it's usually, like you said, late at night. And then I look up and it's like, oh wow, it's like 3 o'clock. I should probably try to sleep. And I try to sleep with the TV on so I can pass out, because otherwise my brain starts going everywhere. And it's like, all right, let me zone out. Like you said, Wedding Crashers, great choice. I'm for it. But then I would get stuck being like, I really want to watch this. So I try to, usually sports, like I can throw on my ESPN app, and then I can fall asleep to Sports Center, because it's something like I want to watch, but then it's kind of calming because it's sports. I don't know. That's usually what I can throw on and fall asleep to.
Yeah, and speaking here with Katie Hajmahalis, and I gotta feel like if you could just take and cut and paste, it's like, yes, exactly. Like that's like I asked my parents to put a TV in my room when I was growing up because it was hard for me to fall asleep. And I'm not going to lie, I was like 10 years old. I was afraid of the dark. Many people are. Many people still are afraid of the dark at like, I don't know, 30, whatever. So it's like I was afraid of the dark growing up as a kid. And so I was like, can I put a TV in my room? I used to just turn on Sports Center, and sports would calm me. And so I would fall. So I didn't have a nightlight. I had Sports Center. And then I would fall asleep. And then I just started to watch Stuart Scott and Rich Eisen and wake up with them. And then I started to really like them. And then I started to kind of say, oh, like Stuart Scott's himself. I could be myself and do this thing. I don't have to pretend to be somebody else. And then, so I mean, I say all the time, I never met Stuart Scott, but he's one of the best mentors that like I never had. And so, I mean, you grow up like that, and now I'm the same way. I'll turn on Wedding Crashers, and I'm like, all right, I'm going to go to bed. I've seen this movie like 100 times, but then there's that part where where they're sitting with each other and he's having that kind, and I have the Vince Vaughn kind of stream of consciousness where she's like, I have the perfect girl for you, and he's like, I'm sorry if I'm not excited about dating because you're wondering the whole time, do I have food in my mouth? Is she talking enough? Am I talking too much? Is she interested but I'm not interested, but now I'm getting interested, but now she's not interested, so now I feel like I should be interested. Like that, I have to watch it every time. And, and then I have to watch you lock it up. Like I have to, and so there's all these parts I find myself, and then my Christopher Walken, I've been working on that impression, so I like to see him and, that, wow, I like to kind of have those moments, and then, he's like a salaman. So, I mean, I'm watching him, and then I'm watching.
The impression, by the way.
Thank you. I appreciate it. So I'm watching that, and then, I'm watching. With all honesty, we've all dated crazy people. So, you have that one moment where she's like, I'd find you. And you're like, oh, my God, been there, done that. So then you're watching that part. And then I'm responding the way he responded. When you're dealing with a crazy person, you have to tell them what they want to hear in the moment, almost like it's a hostage situation. So he's like, I want to find out what's in your heart. I want to find out more about you. And then, and I will say this, and this was kind of funny. I'm going to tell this for the first time ever in 16 years, Katie, on the show, and this is because of this moment. So you remember how Todd, in the movie, makes Vince Vaughn a painting.
Yep.
And Todd
called
is...
Celebration.
Right, called Celebration. Love it. We're hanging out, Katie. We're doing it right after this. We're going to get something to eat. So we're talking, so I'm watching the movie, and Todd makes the painting, and he, obviously he's attracted to Vince Vaughn. When I was at Marywood, and I forget the guy's name, and I forget what he looks like. I just remember, and I think I still have it. But there was a guy who he was friends with one of my friends, and I didn't know. And I'm and my thing is like, okay, it's a compliment, whatever. I'm straight. He was gay. He was attracted to me. I had no idea. He made me a painting. He drew me something, and it was called The Rainbow of Change. And it was like this big open field, and there was like rocks, and there was a mountain. It was beautiful. And the funniest thing in the world was I put it on my wall. And I was like, listen, I'm not attracted to the guy. I don't want to date the guy, but he made me this painting, so I'm going to put it on the wall. So when Vince goes, I'm keeping it. It was a gift. I was like, yes, you get it. Everybody's like, why would you put that on your wall? I'm like, because. I was like, I'm attracted to women. Do you think any woman has ever made me a painting? No. So I'm putting this on my wall to tell them that they got some work to do. So when he says, I'm taking it, it was a gift. I was just like, yes, absolutely. Vince Vaughn and I would think the same. So I still have the Rainbow of Change, and I'm sure he still has Celebration. So
that's awesome.
So yeah, but that's what I'm saying. I can't turn on Wedding Crashers and not watch it. So, or like if I turn on a movie that I've seen and I fall asleep at a certain point, the next night I try to be awake at that point because I want to see the rest of the movie, like the movie Tag, about all the grown-ups that play tag, and that's how they stay friends and they stay young. I never thought I would like it. I didn't think I was like, this isn't going to be good. But then you get kind of hooked on it. But yeah, I'm right there with you. Game of Thrones, though, I've watched one episode.
Oh, you gotta. Characters are great. It's awesome. I didn't think I'd like it. I did not watch it up until like 2 months ago because some of my coaching friends at Kings were like, you need to catch up. I need you to watch this because then we can have a viewing party and like hang out and eat some meats and cheeses and just kind of have another reason for all of us to get together. And like my mom and my younger brother had been bugging me to watch it, and I was like, I don't know, tragedy and zombies, I've not my thing. But then I started watching it, and I got hooked like everybody else apparently, and I'm in it. We had a bunch of the coaches together watching it on Sunday night, and there's 2 episodes left, so all the theories are flying and trying to figure out what's going on. But yeah, that's where we're at, and I'm same thing. I'll go watch a movie, and if I fall asleep, I'll wake back up. Or even if I'm just watching, I'm still like a little bit of like a WWE fan, so I'll go back and like watch some episodes, and if I fall asleep at a certain match or I fast forward through a match, like I'll go back and be like, all right, this is where I fell asleep last time. I'll throw it back on because it's the same idea of like sports. There's commentating, there's athleticism. I'll watch it and then I'll kind of doze off, and it's like, oh crap, I need to see how that ended before like next week.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like I watched I'll stay away from it for so long, and then I watched WrestleMania, and I watched it until it ended. And I just
like 7 hours.
Right, and I just picked these random teams, and I was like, okay, I want them to win. But the thing is, I met John Cena. I decided John Cena was my favorite in like 2009. And then I met John Cena, and he was super nice, and I took a picture with him, and I got to talk with him, and I was like, okay, so now I know that he's a nice guy, or was nice to me, so now he's definitely my favorite, which means that Randy Orton's a you-know-what. So, I mean, I just kind of... So whenever Cena comes out, I like Cena, but I start picking all these other people, and I'm like, I like that team, and I forget in WrestleMania the women that wore the crazy pants. They were like technical. I can't even think of the name of the duo, but I think it starts with a C. And my buddy said something to me, and he's like, "Oh, you know what? Let me see. I'm gonna check it. I'm gonna check it right now on the phone because I know." Where is it here? I know he wrote it to me. So everybody bear with me. This is live radio. It makes it fun. So he wrote, where is it? Because I know he said, the Iconics. Yeah, I was total.
I was totally wrong. Sure.
Yeah, I said C. There's a C. Yeah, so I they came out, and everybody comes out, and there's all the groups, and I go, I don't know, I like the Iconics. I was like, I'm gonna go with the Iconics, and then when they won, I was like, hell yeah. So I was like, I should have put some money on this. But then there's other people that won that I didn't want to win, and I didn't want Triple H to win because I like Drax. So, I mean, it was really hard for me. But, I mean, I don't know. It's like you get into it, and you kind of just, but I have to digress back to the fact that when you watch Game of Thrones, you said, come over and have some meat and cheeses. You obviously have friends that step their game up. So to all my friends that are listening to the show right now, I want food when I come. I don't want you didn't eat before you got here. So, you want
meats and cheeses.
Meats and cheeses. So how many episodes are there of Game of Thrones?
70 maybe.
So can I realistically try to pull this off before the last episode airs?
Depending how late, you're gonna have to probably push past like 1 or 2 o'clock and go into the 3, 4 o'clock. But I powered through. I got it done in maybe 2 weeks, maybe. So you will be around it. If not, just block all the social media with any of the Game of Thrones tweets, because I think my favorite Twitter, other than some of the sports Twitter, is Game of Thrones Twitter. It's hilarious. They got some solid memes. It always it's on point the day after. So if you can keep away spoilers, which has been much harder now, but I think it's worth a run.
Yeah, I mean, because I just feel like it's kind of like The Walking Dead. I never watched The Walking Dead. I don't like zombie stuff. Nothing about it interested me. I was like, I don't like gore. I don't like zombie. I don't like the scary stuff. And then I watched one episode, which in God's infinite humor was the most disgusting episode. That my buddy was watching it, and he goes, I've watched 5 seasons. It's never been this bad. They were hitting them over the head with baseball bats, slitting their throats, and bleeding them out. And that was how the show started. And I was like, holy Jesus. And now I have to, I'm a little bit behind, but now I have to watch it. And now that I've grown the goatee that kind of looks like Tony Stark, Iron Man-esque, it also has an ode to Negan. So it's like, and so I do this, and you can appreciate this, Katie. The way this conversation is going, I feel like you'd get this. So when I'm in Wegmans, I'll just go, and I'll just do that in Wegmans. That's like Negan's I'm about to kill somebody in this moment, and I just do it. I'll push the cart, and I'll do it. And people are like, you're insane. Why would you do that? I said, because everybody leaves me alone and lets me shop. They let me do,
right.
If there's the last mango, and I'm like,
they don't want to fight you for it.
They don't want to fight me for it. They don't know they don't know if I have Lucille. They have no idea. So, I mean, it's just, I don't know. I never thought I'd get onto that show, and I got onto it. And now I feel like that's my way with Game of Thrones, where I'm like, what is everybody talking about? I just kind of want to know.
The first episode or first few in the first season, it's a lot because there's a ton of characters, but I liked it. I would not have done well if I watched it from the beginning and had to wait week to week to watch all of this. Binging it was the way to go, so you could figure out who everybody was. Yeah. Because there's a ton of different characters, there's a ton of different families, and all of them fighting for the throne and everything. But I binged it, and the character development's fantastic. There's a lot of gore. a lot of murder with stuff, and it makes sense because, again, I'm with you. I'm not a big zombie guy, but it makes sense within the story, so I'm okay with it.
Yeah, like I can't. It's weird. I just kind of get into it now. Are you Marvel, DC? Do you watch any of those or no?
Those ones not as much. No, I haven't. I've got a couple of colleagues here who would always be like, "Oh, we need to go," and I'm just like, not as much with the superhero movies.
You got to get in it.
It's very disappointing. I get that a lot.
I just got one of my friends into it, and she's a DC fan, and I was just talking about it, and then of course I'm rocking this goatee that I'm very, very proud of. And one of my friends said something to me on Facebook. He's like, "You're treating your goatee like a person. Like, can you stop?" I was like, "Why can't you just be happy for me and my goatee?" I said, I trust them. They trust me. It's loyal to me. Leave me alone. So I have the goatee, and I'm doing the thing, and I'm talking, and they just kind of were like, okay, you know what? I'm going to jump into out of nowhere. I'm going to jump into it. And I said, all right, let's do this. So they said, what's the order? So I gave them the order of the 22 movies that are out, and they've started. They watch Captain America. They're going through the thing, and I feel completely proud of that moment. That I got somebody into it, but it's just, I don't know, there's just something about, it's not like I don't cry in movies, but I cry in the Avengers movies. Like, I will actually shed a tear in those movies, but I won't cry in a movie, and I don't know if that's the kid in me, because I grew up with stuff, and now I'm an adult, and it's so realistic, they make it so real that you believe it. But, I mean, because I'm sure people cry with Game of Thrones and Walking Dead and all that good stuff, but I don't cry in movies, yet, like, if Spider-Man's in the movie and something happens, I'm like, oh, come on, man. So, you got to give it a shot. You're going to have to eventually try to give it a shot.
I'm sure I'll cave at some point. You'll have to send me the list of the order, and I'll see what I can do.
Yeah, I mean, you go through it a little bit, but that's another benefit. Because you've waited so long, you can see them all right now without having to wait like 2-3 years for something to come out. And that's the smart thing. Like, that's what you did for Game of Thrones. That's what I did for Walking Dead. Like, I didn't have to wait like everybody else.
Yeah,
that's
the way to go. I'm much more a binge watcher now that I don't have cable. I think that was my problem.
Yeah, I mean, you got to get rid of cable, and then you just got to, be up at 3 o'clock in the morning like Katie and I, eating Cheerios, watching weird shows. I mean, that's just what you got to do. It's how life is. Wedding crashers at 3 a.m. That's what you got to do. So with that,
cereal is the perfect snack. You hit that right on the head.
Right? When is there a bad time for Lucky Charms? Never.
Never.
But it's funny because Robin Williams, bless his heart, he said in one of his comedy routines, if you're eating a bowl of Lucky Charms after 4 p.m., you're a drug addict. I've never done, and it's like, I'm not a drug addict. I've never been a drug addict. I just really like Lucky Charms. So
and just the cold milk and the marshmallows, like, I'm in.
Right. Like, how does it do you wrong? Like, last night I had a bowl of Honey Nut Cheerios. I got in bed and I watched Wedding Crashers.
That's the way to do it. I see nothing wrong with that scenario.
Right. Is that like the best? That's like the best life ever. That's how it is. And I tell people all the time, they're like, yeah, but it's you and the dog. They're like, isn't that, and you go, and I was like, no. I said, there's no one to tell me I can't do it.
Right.
That's the beauty of it. I'm like, I look around the room, I'm like, oh, can I not have cereal in bed? Oh my! Like, because you're like a kid again. You're like, oh, can I not do this? Can I not watch Wedding Crashers? No, it's fine. So it's a beautiful, beautiful thing to live life to the fullest, and it sounds like that's what we're doing: Cheerios and Wedding Crashers. So Katie. Listen, they say that crazy people, if they find another crazy person, you don't feel as crazy. So now I don't feel as crazy. That's good.
Yes, right back at you.
So that coming from Katie Hajmahalis. To wrap it all up, we went to a bunch of different places, but to kind of just be, as I said, not just for women, but for people in general, a beacon of hope. What would be your kind of words of wisdom and your words of handling adversity for the people out there that are going through it, no matter what it is?
I think the best thing that I can relay is you can't get anywhere without the tough times. Like, you need the adversity because that's what's going to force you out of your comfort zone. It's going to force you to figure out, are you someone who's going to work third shift to make ends meet and to go after what you want? I think that the testing of that is going to help. You can't shy away from that because the more you're tested, the more you're going to figure out, yes, this is what I want, and you're going to fight for it. Or if you get tested and you realize, nah, this isn't what I want, you can find another way to go and find that thing that you are willing to fight for. But I think especially just being a young female and the movement that's going on in the world, let alone the sports world, it's so awesome to just watch and see. And I try to get my players to watch it all the time. And I send them articles and I send stuff of, if you're not feeling like you can go after this stuff, like, you're crazy. Like, you need to go after it. You need to just stand tall with it and just try to go after and not shy away from that adversity.
And I think that's a great thing, is that you got to meet it head on. People, and I say it all the time, kind of going off of what you said, is I always complain when I get thrown in the fire. I always go, God, it burns. God, I don't like this. God, it's too much. God, I don't deserve this. And then all of a sudden, the fire starts to kind of go in you, and instead of working against you and burning you, you kind of get control of the fire. Then you can kind of use it to your advantage. And so I tell people that all the time. You're going to scream when you get burned in the beginning, but then all of a sudden it's going to work for you, and now you're part of the fire is a part of you, and now you get to dictate what that fire is going to do if you're willing to go through it. So, I mean, that's just kind of how I see adversity is you complain about it at first, but then you kind of just love it. And if anybody knows anything about me, if you throw me into the fire pit, I always come out better, so it's really kind of a bad decision to make to put me in the fire.
Yeah, and it goes along with it's paraphrasing whatever the quote it is, but it's only in the darkest of nights can you see the stars.
Right.
Like, you have to go, and it has to be pitch black sometimes in order to see whatever it is that you need to see to get out of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I walk through the valley of the shadow of death. I fear no evil. I look at that one too. It's just like, you got to do what you got to do. And the best people in this world came from, I always go back to Walt, and I think about Walt Disney. He was told 700 times, 700 times, an amusement park year-round will never work. He bought swampland in Florida that nobody wanted, and now he's the richest dead man ever. It's just like, you look at that and you're like, 700, like, you think about when somebody's like, oh my God, I wanted to ask this girl out, they said no. I asked this guy out, he said no. I tried to get this job, they said no. I tried to be on this team, they wouldn't let me on the team. I didn't make tryouts. 700 times hearing no, that's like 10 lifetimes of no. And to hear somebody continue after that is just, I believe in God. I know some people do, some people don't, but it's like, I look at what Jesus went through. Then I look at what these other people went through. I look at what my mom, for God's sakes, went through. And it's like, how can you, and then I've talked to cancer survivors, and it's insane to hear somebody's story and then hear somebody else be like, I didn't get what I wanted today at Starbucks. Okay. How are you supposed to respond to that when you know that people have real world problems? So, I think the best response to adversity is to embrace it, because God only gives it to his fiercest warriors, is how I kind of look at it. So, it's fair enough.
Yeah, absolutely. And same thing, like you said about your mom, like my mom's got other health stuff that's gone on, and it's just, I've always seen it, and that's what you do. Like, you don't complain. Like you said, if somebody's going to complain about not getting their Starbucks the right way, I'm going to roll my eyes at you because there's other things going on. It's not that important. Find another way. And
whenever I bring up something like that, I always go to the Valley girl. I don't know why. I apologize to all the Valley women out there. But I think it's because it's the voice that I heard. That's the one that you remember. It's like, they got my latte wrong, and I don't. And I'm like, it's the Kardashian voice. I can't. Yeah. And if anybody watches Real Housewives of the Kardashians, please don't ever come into contact with me. I'm sure Katie doesn't. I'm sure you don't watch it.
Never, not once.
Okay, well, you're a smarter person than most, and sometimes you get forced to watch stuff. So I have way too much useless information from years gone by that I need to let go of the Real Housewives of Orange County and New Jersey, and oh my God. But I will watch Jersey Shore because they're not real Italians, and so I can laugh at it. Because being an Italian, I know that they're not. We don't have any orange Oompa Loompas. It's just not. But, shout out to Snooki, because no matter how bad life is, can always look at Snooki. So that being said, Katie Hashmahal is here with us this morning. Katie, I know we went to a bunch of different topics and places. I hope it was fun, and hopefully we can get you back here on the show and continue to hopefully make a positive movement, and at the same time get people to stay up until 2 o'clock to watch the good shows on Netflix.
Yeah, get your cereal, folks. It's worth it.
So thank you for your time. I appreciate it, and I hope to have you back on soon.
Appreciate it, Dan. It was awesome catching up with you, and I love that you're giving us a platform to try to get more people, and especially women, like we talked about, out there and promoting all the good stuff we're doing. So much appreciated.
Well, I was raised by two of the best of them, so why not put some more out there? That's how I look at it. My grandmother and my mom, if they didn't raise me, who would have? So, I got to give all the credit where the credit's due. So there's great women out there. They need to be on a platform, and if Wake Up Call can be that, I'm happy to have that. And, it's always good, too, when somebody can appreciate Cheerios and Wedding Crashers, and quote Wedding Crashers, mind you. So to all the women out there that heard this morning, I respect you all, but I respect you more if you can do that. So, so thank you for everything, and I'll talk to you soon.
All right, take care.